As a part of the Shannons Speed Series. Good morning and welcome to you if you're watching on 7+. A special good evening to those of you that are watching on our YouTube channels globally as well. Hope you're enjoying the action. GT, if you love your cars, you'll know that stands for Grand Touring. Behind us are the GT3 machines. They're the aspirational cars that are at the pointy end of the offering, if you like. Cutting edge from an aerodynamic standpoint, technically, the kind of horsepower that they deliver and so on. Now, commentators are getting ready for qualifying for the next tier of that, if you like, in GT4. So we'll show you. I mean, there is everything here from Ford Mustangs, BMWs, Toyotas represented as well, McLarens, Mercedes, Porsches and more. But GT4 basically is designed for customer racing, so production-based sports cars modified for competition. These are perfect for amateur drivers as well, but to pair with those that have some experience. And Charlie is with an experienced driver right now and a massive repair job on that car since Queensland Raceway.
Back because this car was looking very different after Queensland Raceway.
Yeah, the boys did a good job fixing it up after that pretty big shunt there. So, yeah, fix it up. Car's quick yesterday, and hopefully we can do pretty good in these mixed conditions and survive this morning.
I did see you during the Radical Cup qualifying. You were out here chatting to some of the teams, trying to secret sleuth on what the conditions were like out there. Have you got any idea of what to expect?
Yeah, I spoke to one of the guys, and he's told me how wet it is out there, and yeah, there's all these puddles everywhere, and somehow I've ended up with slicks on the car still, and yeah, we'll see what happens in this quali.
Just send it.
Yeah, exactly.
All the best.
Aaron Cameron and Ryan Hansford, they were the headline story in a thrilling pre-qualifying on Friday. Brilliant job by the multi-spares team to get that Mustang ready. There are 3 divisions within the overall GT4 class as well. We'll tell you a bit more about that when the action gets underway. 27 cars are entered for this round. This class is relatively new on the Australian motorsport scene, and it has absolutely exploded in terms of popularity. There are youngsters like Cameron Crick, just over my cameraman's shoulder, who's about to head out. Aaron Cameron, who's getting pushed out here now in that repaired Mustang. He was a star of TCR in recent time. He's been racing in Super 2 and more. So they roll out of the lane. Why don't we take you to our commentators now? Qualifying split into 2 15-minute sessions. Let's go to Richard Crail and Thomas Randall.
Rusty, thank you. Right in the thick of it, in a very busy pit lane, which with 27 Monochrome GT4 Australia cars is a hub of activity here at Sandown for the Shannons Speed Series. Round 4 of Monochrome GT4 Australia. It has been box office all season long, Thomas Randall. We've enjoyed the diversity, we've enjoyed the mix of talent, and we've enjoyed some of the new names that have been using this category as an opportunity to plant their flag in the scene of Australian motorsport.
Absolutely. Good morning. Oh, absolutely. Good morning, Crailsey, and good morning, everyone tuning in for Monochrome GT4 Australia Series, rolling out for qualifying 1. And like you touched on, this series is just booming, isn't it? You know, we've had on average 25 to 30 cars this whole season, and there's been action across the last 3 rounds. I'm sure we'll get into the action that occurred up at Queensland Raceway, but there's been different winners across the first 3 rounds. There's been some crazy surprises that we've seen, and the mix of talent, the mix of manufacturers, drivers, there's a bit for everyone in this series.
Well, and Thomas, this weekend we have drivers in their very first ever car race, literally first ever car race, to guys that are racing in the Supercars Championship full time. It's that broad a spread. Here it is, 3.2 kilometres, first raced here in the early 1960s, Sandown International Raceway, and you can see from our incredible drone shot how close we are to suburbia here in the inner southeast, a beautiful Melbourne. It's a grey, very cold day, but the rain has stayed away for now, and this racetrack drying. Still a little bit of spray from the Radicals heading down towards turn 1. They do have a lot of downforce. They pick up a lot of standing water. A lot of teams paying close attention to the Radical qualifying session, Thomas, just to see how this track was evolving. And the general feeling in pit lane is that there's a lot of track evolution every single lap. It's drying, the dry line gets wider, you can attack the curbs harder, and as a result, the lap times will drop quicker.
Absolutely, and the Radicals were the first class out 9 a.m. this morning, and with the downpour that we had last night, Crailsey, there's just no chance for the track to dry before they hit the circuit, and with their 30-minute qualifying session, barring, well, there was 1 red flag, so they didn't get as much track action as they would have liked. But I'm curious to see who's on slicks and who's on wets. Rusty?
Lots of great marks, as you know, in this class, Tom. But one thing that we probably haven't seen at the round so far is the Toyota Supra performing perhaps as it has been, certainly in practice so far this weekend. So some really encouraging signs from the Toyota camp, if you will. And a little reminder this morning too, just in relation to the GT4 manufacturer ranking points globally. If you look at that across the different SRO divisions in all corners of the world, BMW in really good shape when you look at that global manufacturer ranking. But boy, there is something here for everybody, no matter what kind of car you like.
Rusty, 7 different brands in the top 10 outrights in the pre-qualifying session held yesterday afternoon. Almost every brand represented on the grid were in the top 10 at the end of a very competitive day of practice yesterday. It's wide open, and that magical balance of performance, which is the means by which SRO, the governing body of GT racing in the world, manages the performance between a normally aspirated V8 Ford Mustang, the differently normally aspirated Mercedes AMG there, turbocharged BMW mid-mount Porsche with a low centre of gravity and a lighter weight race car, and then even cars with engines hanging out the back. So completely different philosophies of producing speed, and yesterday we had 15 cars covered by under 2 seconds. Remarkably close and remarkably competitive. There are 3 classes within Monochrome GT4. We'll be referring to them. There'll be a pole sitter in each of them. The silver class, silver AM, and then the AM class. AM is the most numerous. They're for the amateur drivers. They're the red numbers on your timing totem left of screen, and you can pick out where your favourite of the 27 combinations in this field, quite a few of them with 2 drivers rolling around. In this session, some names to watch. Cameron Crick, now on the verge of a supercars career. He's in the D.A. Campbell Transport Racing Ford Mustang. He'll be sharing that with Dean Campbell. Marcus Liddell has been very fast, a couple of pole positions in the AM class in his Mustang. Lockie Dalton, who's been quick, he's in the Buckby Motors Mercedes AMG. And Jake Camilleri, one to watch, Thomas, silver class. He swapped brands between rounds. He's moved across from Mercedes AMG, jumped into a Ford Mustang, and that's just so he can be in the same machinery that his Gomersal Motorsport teammates are in.
Yeah, there's quite a few Fords now that have joined the Monochrome GT4 Australia series, and it's quite an exciting thing to have more manufacturers and then more of that same manufacturer join the championship and do a mid-season swap. Pretty interesting, and he's getting pretty comfortable with that Ford Mustang as it sits. He's currently in position number 5. And just touching on Cameron Crick, they had a bit of a clutch issue yesterday in pre-qualifying. So fingers crossed that's all sorted. They're definitely going to need that when it comes to the races. They might be able to get away with it in qualifying, but Cameron Crick at the moment sitting in position 4. And as it stands, the fastest lap time is that Toyota Supra of Fergus with a 1:21.1, about 7 seconds away from the ultimate dry time yesterday. And this is conditions, Crailsy, that no one experienced yesterday, because yesterday was completely dry. So this is, everyone's kind of pioneering at the moment.
The outright pole position in Monochrome GT4 Australia in the 6 qualifying sessions we've had on 5 occasions has come from the silver class. But at Queensland Raceway, Shane Smollen in the AM class, who's now second in that championship, put his Porsche Cayman on outright pole position, which was an enormous job. Daniel Fergus absolutely hustling the Toyota Supra from GWR Australia over the curb on the run down towards Dandenong Road. And there was a lot of curb there, all 4 wheels over that inside white line. And that is something that Motorsport Australia Race Control will keep an eye on. It's a good lap time. It puts him second, and this is a look at it. Massive commitment there. Gets the apex on the inside, but gets the car turned. Yeah, I reckon if that was you in your supercar, that would be no lap time.
That would be track limits. Yeah, they obviously don't have the shortcut loop as we would get in supercars there. That would definitely be lap time deleted, and plenty of curb these cars can take as he approaches a lot of traffic here. So I'd say this lap might not be as strong as the last one. Nowhere really he can go. He's in a bit of a BMW sandwich. There's 3 of them that he's got to navigate his way around. And just on that, Blake Purdy's actually gone to the top with a 1:20.2, and he is on another flying lap as it stands, purple to the middle sector with a 1:20.2. Now that Purdy car they came out of the blocks fast at Phillip Island, didn't they, Crailsey? I think with a second and a first place position, and it's been, to be honest, pretty tough from there on out. And they were involved in that incident on the opening lap in the first race at Queensland Raceway. That was, I mean, that was just a crazy race in itself. Penalties galore, incidents, safety cars, people pitting under that opening safety car. That was a crazy race, but he's set a 1:19.4 at the moment, 1.5 seconds faster than second place.
Blake got pole for race 1 at Queensland Raceway, so the qualifying pace there was outstanding in the Audi R8, the sole Audi in the field for the South Australian team, backed by Nippies. But yeah, that massive drama in that opening race and big damage to that car. Purdy 1:19.4 for a representative lap time in fully dry conditions yesterday, in the mid-114s is a GT4 benchmark. So they're still 5 seconds per lap slower than where they were yesterday in the fully dry. There's so many good stories in this field, and it's lucky we've got 2 one-hour races, Thomas, to talk about them, because there's so many things to talk on as we watch that Audi. And Blake's on another very good lap. His first sector time was excellent. His second sector, which is this middle one across the top, is also purple, which means best of all, he's on to improve.
He did just have to overtake, though. That might hurt him, but we'll wait and see.
Matt McCutcheon, that was in the 101. Game over Toyota Supra, the young Kiwi sharing with Tony Quinn this weekend. Little bit of a hesitation, might have cost him a little bit of time, but he's on to improve here. Cameron Crick's gone second and first in Silver Am in the Ford Mustang. What does this lap time do for Purdy? Well, it's into the 18s. And they're not just finding tenths now, Tom, as this track evolves. They're finding seconds. Yeah,
this is with just under 6.5 minutes to go. The track is just going to keep heating up. And because there's so many cars out on the track, Crailsey, the track temperature is going to be increasing as well, and the lap time is just going to continue to fall. Now, someone that's been extremely impressive is Jay Murray. He's in his debut race, not only just in GT4 Australia, but his debut race, he's sitting in 4th position overall on a 20.9, albeit he's 2 seconds off the pace and he's 4th.
But that is an outstanding performance, and he's just heading into turn 4 now in the Morris BMW. 16 years of age, the son of Nathan Murray, who's made a return to racing this year. This is his first ever car race. Now, you might go, Thomas, oh no, he's done some Hyundai Excels or a bit of this. No, this is it. This is racing debut for the driver behind the wheel of this BMW, Jay Murray. 16 years of age. He's been racing karts at a very high level in Australia and New Zealand, KZ karts, which are the peak, and we send a big hello to our friends in the Australian Karting Championships who are racing up in New South Wales this weekend. This is an incredible story. The McElroy Racing team have enormous raps on this young guy. They think he's a star in the future, and they're using GT4 as a way to ease him into national level competition. The beauty is he's got time on his side, only 16 years of age, and he's on to improve here. Purdy into the low 18s, improves again, and Murray's laps are 20.6. But what a baptism of fire to have your first race meeting at a really difficult, bumpy, undulating, Armco Canyon style of racetrack, and to be that quick is super impressive. Rusty?
And having a word to Daniel Price a moment ago, who's getting ready at the moment. He's been watching the times here, so really good job by Blake at the moment. But there is a bit of detail in the story here, just in relation to what some have done on tyres, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right. A lot of the field ended up going slicks, which we thought was a bit strange, but yeah, so far our call looks like it was the right one.
So just to clarify, you've gone wets, yeah?
We are definitely on wets, yes.
Okay, leave you to it. Thank you. There you go, boys. So we think it is. I mean, it isn't completely clear, but if you're looking at the timing monitor, from 9th down, a good chunk of those have gone the slick option, but further up the order, it seems like wets are still the truest at the moment.
Thanks, Rusty. And there'll be a crossover point, and there's a lot of colour on our timing monitor in that 9th position down, and that means everyone's setting personal best lap times. Max McCutcheon jumps up a bunch of spots to 7th position in the 101 Toyota Supra. Ryland Gray in the Lubramax Mustang jumps to 3rd. Championship leaders in in the Silver Class Championship. Cameron Crick's on a good lap. Let's follow the D.A. Campbell Transport Mustang, the second of 2 cars in this train following the 71 car of Aaron Seaton, who's also going to improve. So these two should both jump up the order. Seaton goes to 4th. Crick improves his lap time, remains 2nd, but gets within 0.2 of a second of Blake Purdy.
These last 3 minutes, Crailsy, are going to be crucial for the cars that are on slick tyres, because this is where the track's going to come alive for them. If you're on a wet tyre, I think it's going to be hard to find more lap time now. So this is where, if you're on a wet, the rubber blocks that are on the tyres, they're starting to move around too much. There's a huge moment for Seaton. Just gets off the curb wrong there off turn 3. Manages to gather it up though, but that's not going to be a personal best sector 1. But what I was just going to try and touch on is that, yeah, if you're on the wet tyre, now it's going to start to get probably a bit overheated. It's going to start to feel really greasy. But if you're on a slick, I think this is where the lap times are going to start to fall. So the last 2.5 minutes, barring, I don't want to have a commentator's curse here, barring any red flags, this is where the slick tyre could really come into play.
McCutcheon 4th in the Toyota Supra, so he's jumped up from 21st to 9th and then 4th in 3 laps. So he's finding big time. Aaron Cameron in his Mustang is absolutely flying in 5th position as well. This is going to be a busy end, and I wonder now if this is the crossover point for qualifying 2 for the second drivers, or if you've already run, you go around again. Is this the point where you put slicks on and commit to it? Because I think there's enough evidence now that there's enough temperature, there's enough of a dry line on this racetrack that you can take it. So this is Cameron, Multi-Spares Racing, headed up by Brett Peters out of Queensland, involved in that massive crash at Queensland Raceway. If you haven't seen it, the highlights are on the Monochrome GT4 Australia social media channels and the GT World YouTube page. Massive impact, huge repair job. You would not know that that car was scratched. They did an enormous job to patch it back together. Outstanding stuff from them. And what's the lap from Cameron? It put him 3rd. Good job, but Crick is going on with it too. Cameron is improving. He is up to 2nd position and going on with it.
As is Blake Purdy, so just that last sector he's missed out. Maybe had some traffic there, but Blake Purdy was purple to the middle sector as Crick goes purple sector 1 on this lap. Just over a minute remaining here, so if you've crossed the line now, that's going to be your last lap. And Ryland Gray, as we believe, slick tyre runner, has just gone to the top on a 17.8. So there we go. That last couple of minutes of the session could prove to be pivotal for those that are on the slick tyre.
All bar 4 cars did their personal best lap on the last lap, and one of them sitting in pit lane as Nash Morris puts the TechWorks Porsche to 2nd position. Great lap from the Queenslander, sharing with Zoe Woods this weekend. McCutcheon's on a lap. Ryland Gray continuing to go on with it. This is a shootout right at the end, and it will be last man or female standing in this session. Who can cross the line last? Because with the track evolution and the way it's improving, the last car across the line is very likely to be the quickest. Here's the Lubramax Mustang. Ryland Gray. No improvement there. Multi-Spares car. Aaron Cameron, no improvement. And he'll get one more lap.
And the timing monitor is just full of green at the moment, isn't it, Crailsy? We've just gone to 0 on the clock. Checkered flag is out. Ryland Gray, he mustn't be far away from crossing the line.
McCutcheon goes quicker, 17.3 for the Toyota Supra.
Here comes Gray.
Big lap. And Ryland Gray beats him into the 116s. It's definitely slick tyre conditions now. 0.5 of a second. What a performance from Max McCutcheon, getting back into the field for the first time since Queensland Raceway last year. Still plenty of drivers on laps. Hughes goes to 2nd for 888. Beaten by Nash Morris, he goes to 3rd for TechWorks. Big jump up the order for Nash.
We've still got Cody Bircher is on a lap there in the 22 BMW. See what time he can do. And he goes to 3rd with that lap time of a 1:17.4. Ryder Quinn now goes to 2nd.
Great lap, Ryder. Cameron Crick could not improve at the end. Very slow final sector and middle sector, in fact, for Cameron. So Cricky and Campbell, for this race at least, will start from P9.
And we know, Crailsy, that Purdy was on wet tyres, so they looked so strong, didn't they, for about 13 minutes of this qualifying session.
Cameron up 4 spots to 6th position. Tom Heyman up a bunch, the championship leader in the silver class, up to 7th in the McLaren. Right at the very end of the session. What a way to start the Monochrome GT4 Australia weekend. But Ryland Gray has done the business. It will be their second silver class pole position of the year for Lubramax Racing and Mediki Motorsport in the Ford Mustang. What a shootout. Great lap rider Quinn right at the very end. His granddad's going to start just behind him in that. Tony Quinn, thanks to Matt McCutcheon did the job there in third. Cody Bircher in fourth. Nash Morris next. Silver, the AM class pole went to Nathan Callahan in the Porsche Cayman in 13th position outright. Ryder Quinn on pole in silver AM. Rylan Gray in silver. As we go back and look at qualifying, highlights of an action-packed 15-minute qualifying session for Monochrome GT4 Australia. The best thing is there's another session to come.
There is, and everyone just trying to find their own space and track position. There was the number 9, Supra, taking a little bit too much curve there. And at the start of the session, the first 12 minutes, those wet tyre runners looked so strong, didn't they, Crailsy? But the last 2 minutes of the session, there was that massive slide. Great save from Aaron Seaton out of turn 3. As I was just saying, the last 3 minutes, the track just came alive, and those slick tyre runners, I mean, look, if you look down, Blake Purdy is in position number 10. So Rylan Gray doing the business in the Lubramax Mustang.
Brilliant qualifying session. Rusty, there's so much to unpick from that one.
And I thought we'd go to third place for the session. Really good story this for the Supra contingent. Young Matty McCutcheon hasn't been behind the wheel for a little while. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, it feels awesome, especially in these tricky conditions. I mean, it's probably been about 3 years since I've last gone out in the rain. So, the Caltech boys, we took the gamble of going out on slicks, and the first part was pretty sketchy, but it was awesome to pull it off at the end there to get pretty free.
Can you describe that for our viewers, just what that was like? Because it was such a fascinating game. It started to come to you with limited minutes remaining, didn't it?
Yeah, well, I thought because I was getting, 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, and even with 5 minutes ago, I was still wheel spinning in fifth gear just because of slick tyres. So crazy bit of survival there, but in the last 5 minutes, everything just came alive. The car felt good, and we just kept on chipping away. So pretty awesome to end up P3.
Cool. We're going to let you go to talk with Tony just very quickly. What would you tell him in relation to track condition, maybe things to look out for as he gets set to go out?
Yeah, there's just a couple of little spots there where the water's still playing around. Well, obviously Sandown with the unique historic features. There's a couple of places where there's some new patches and old patches, so I'll just go talk to him about that, but he'll get it done.
Great work, mate. Nice big smile there from Matty McCutcheon, who sets and puts that car in a very, very solid position in Monochrome Australia GT4. You know what the good news is? We're going to grab a break here on the screens of 7. When we return, we get to do it all again. Qualifying 2 coming up just around the corner.
Charlie will bring us back here and pick up with an interview, and then I'll let us know how long before we go back up to the boys in the box.
Copy that.
I think we'll be okay. I think we're about a minute away from going again.
There is so much action happening in the Monochrome GT4 Australia Series. Qualifying 1 is done, so we thought we'd come on down to the lane and have a chat with Rylan Gray. Congratulations, race 1, starting from pole. Great way to start the weekend.
Yeah, it's the best spot to start from, but yeah, it was quite tricky out there, very wet at the start, and I thought we made the wrong decision going out on slicks, but the track just got better and better, so I'm pretty happy with that, and to come away with a pole is pretty cool.
It really was, and you guys have decided to stay with slicks because George is now in the car for quali 2.
Yeah, the track's dried out quite a bit now, so full slips is the way to go. All the track is normal line, so onto him to see if he can replicate.
And let's talk a little bit more about you, Rylan. Like, we've really seen you come so much into here, Supercar starts as well. So you give yourself a bit of a mid-season report for your GT4 appearances.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. It's a different style of racing to Super 2. It's a little more good, but the intensity level's still excellent for a championship. So yeah, I've been really enjoying it so far. It's been a great first half of the year. Just looking forward to the rest of it.
It's certainly great to see you, and working with George as well, the Mustang, it's like it's really on rails for you guys. So working with the meter keys, talk us through how that has developed over the year as well.
Yeah, the team's just got better and better every time we've gone out. They've worked really hard to get this car working the best of its ability, and they have. So yeah, it's been great. It's been a jet, and hopefully we can continue that.
Certainly, because now it is the business end of the season. We've obviously got to the bed and across the ditch to New Zealand. So talk us through the focus for the rest of the year. What is it you've got to pull out of yourself to achieve?
As many race wins as possible. I think that's the way to get a championship wrapped up, but it's always hard in this category. But yeah, we'll just keep our heads down, keep focused, and hopefully we're there by the end of the year.
All the best. Congratulations again. We'll see you in race 1. So qualifying is about to kick off. Let's head over to commentary.
Thank you, Charlie, with Rylan Gray, who is a rising star of the sport, and I'd suggest we might not see him in Monochrome GT4 Australia next year because he's got big things on his horizon, but what a platform this has been for young Rylan. I bumped into his dad, Jeremy, yesterday, a racer in his own right very successfully, and he and his mum very, very proud about the performance young Rylan's putting in, and that was the 3rd pole position this year for the Lubramax Mustang in the silver class. They're 2nd in the championship. They're only 6 points behind Tom Heyman and Max Gagan. So there is a massive battle going on at the pointy end of the field in Monochrome GT4 Australia in the silver class. There's only 5 points in Silver Am between the leaders. So we're in championship season. I know it's only early and there's still plenty of racing to go, but it's literally the halfway point of the year. 6 races down, 6 to go. It's time to start rolling the dice and working out where you land. So let's do all of that again on the back of 7 different brands in the top 10 in qualifying number 1. This is qualifying number 2. Those combinations running 2 drivers will have swapped in the intervening 10 minutes. So Daniel Price, for example, will take over the Nippies Audi from Blake Purdy and will drive that car. Ryan Hansford will be behind the wheel of the multi-spares Ford Mustang. Dean Campbell takes over from Cameron Crick, and Tony Quinn from Matt McCutcheon. Zoe Woods for TechWorks, after a great performance by Nash Morris, will jump aboard the Porsche, and so on. So this is a whole different qualifying session. It sets the grid for a whole different race, and now we see how deep into the 15s perhaps they can go in this session, if not 14s, which is the dry weather pace for GT4 cars here at Sandown.
Well, I'm going to say, Crailsy, I think the decision to go to slicks would have been made slightly easier
yes.
for this session, considering what we saw unfold at the back end of the first qualifying session. As we just heard from Rylan, he was thinking that he made the wrong decision. He actually asked me, he sent me a text message before the session saying, what do you reckon? And I was like, I'd go slicks.
I was waiting for you to bring that up because you've been up and about for the last 10 minutes because Thomas Randall's captain's call was absolutely bang on. You said slick cars would be the ones to have right at the end of the session. You were right by about 2.5 minutes.
Well, that interview with Daniel Price with 3 minutes to go, and he said, I don't know why people went to the slick tyre. I was starting to freak out, but the last 3 minutes was the saving grace. But I'm sure Price will be on the slick tyres, as will 100% of the field for this session. So brand new Pirelli slick tyres for everyone, I would say, whether or not some might have elected to stay with a hot Pirelli tyre, because in these conditions there's not as much tyre wear. However, having a brand new set of rubber always helps. So we have the full field now on the circuit. everyone commencing their first flying laps on track in qualifying number 2 as we follow one of the Method Motorsport McLarens, the 25 there of McGagan, as we've got a spin actually, and that's the sister car at the chicane.
So dramas for the 24 car, who are a contender in the silver class this year as well. They're going to recover and drive out of that. We've got Rusty standing by in the lane.
Just an odd kind of feeling here at the moment. There are some darker clouds that sort of surround us, Krause, so I wondered if it was encroaching or approaching us. I've just been down to Arise Racing. You'll see their Ferraris in action in GT3 a little bit later. Scott Sinclair is a part of that operation this weekend. Had a word to he and Jordan Love. They've been looking at the radar. Now, there is some wet weather on its way, but approximately 11 a.m, and they're not talking as though it's a massive downpour at this stage. So that gamble we saw in the first part of qualifying for Monochrome GT4, it looks like slicks will absolutely be the choice to be on for the remainder of this second session.
Thanks, Rusty. It's going to be one of those days where people end up going to the chiropractor tonight because they'll have sore necks from looking skyward or looking down at the app to try and find out what the weather is going to do. Typical Melbourne conditions, but it's part of the charm of racing here at Sandown. You never, ever know as we build up to this next phase of qualifying in qualifying 2 for Monochrome GT4 Australia. This format, by the way, will be replicated by GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS, a little bit later on this morning in the GT3 cars. And if we're talking about 15s and 16s for a lap time in GT4, GT3s yesterday in the drive were in the 1 minute and 8s, so 68 seconds around Sandown, which is fair hauling the mail. Here's the multi-spares racing car. Queenslander Ryan Hansford, a famous surname, a champion in the Touring Car Masters category, a great, laconic, laid-back Queenslander, but as fast as anybody when he gets behind the wheel, and he sets the first benchmark in this qualifying session, a 1 minute 18.3 for the multi-spares stang.
It's so great to see that car back out on track, isn't it, Krause? And as you touched on a little earlier on, it is just, you wouldn't even know that anything happened to that car. It is in beautiful and pristine condition, that Ford Mustang, and Ryan Hansford doing the business at the moment in these tricky conditions, not wet anymore or damp, but tricky, because the track is still cool. It's only going to keep getting quicker as the number 1 Porsche goes to the top now on a 17.8. So these times are just going to continue to tumble.
Shane Smollen had the M-Class pole at Queensland Raceway in this equivalent session. The inaugural GT4 champion in Australia in the McGrath Porsche. This car run by Method Motorsport, the team headed up by Chaz Mostert. He's had a great season. Missed the opening round of the series, Thomas, but he has charged his way up to 2nd in the championship and closing in on the leader, Jacob Lawrence. Stubbsy.
Thank you. I thought I'd grab the man who was leading the Silver Ram in Aaron Seaton. So far the season is going nicely. You're leading the championship there, but how was that session there for you? 3rd in Silver Ram.
Yeah, it was awesome to get out there in the Ford Mustang. Obviously GT4 are doing a great job with these events. The rain overnight gave us an interesting session then. Obviously yesterday was dry, so we felt pretty comfortable in the dry conditions. Wet, I would say the temperature didn't really come up until those last 2 laps, so it was very slippery, and I had a bit of a moment actually at 2-3, which I believe was played on the TV.
Oh, we saw it.
But no, the Mustang's handling awesome. Obviously it's just risk limitation and try and get the best out of the car that we can, and focus on the race and get a good starting spot. So yeah, hand the car over to Jace. I think that we're in a good spot, so we'll see how we go.
Since we last saw you, the announcement that you will be riding in the Matt Stone Racing Supercar Bathurst 1000 for the Enduros this year. Congratulations on that, partnering with Cam Crick, who you're competing against here in Silver Ram class this weekend. How does it all play out against Cam, and how does it play out getting into the car and getting ready for your supercars?
Yeah, it's really cool, obviously, to join Cam, the MSR team for the Enduros at both Taylor Men and Bathurst. It's an awesome opportunity for me to go out there and compete again at the main game level. I'm really looking forward to it, and I've been putting in the work behind the scenes to make sure that we put our best foot forward. Obviously, we're competitors this weekend, both Cam and myself, and it's actually interesting because our engineer for the wildcard's actually engineering the Toyota with Fergus and Berryman, so we're actually 1, 2, 3 in the championship. But no, it's very a professional relationship. championships. Obviously, we've been racing each other right through Super 2 and everything. So when it comes to a different category, we obviously make sure that we put our best foot forward for ourselves and then look forward to putting that aside for the Enduros and working together.
Mate, great job. And the guys in the box, they would know 60 years since Mo, you've ran up, about 30 years since close your ears since Glenn, of course, with 9 laps to go, had the engine go. So real anniversaries, and what a family, what a tradition. We look forward to seeing you back at the mountain then.
It'd be really cool.
Thanks, Stubbsy. He brought up 95. I wasn't sure if it was going to go there. Times dropping quickly in qualifying 2 for Monochrome GT4 Australia, and Aaron Seaton will be watching Jason Gomersal. To give you an example, for a time there, Jacob Lawrence was quickest in the BMW for Randall Racing, and his lap time was 1 minute 16.6. He's in the same car. He hasn't swapped. He doesn't have a co-driver this weekend. His lap time in qualifying 1 was a 1 minute 18.9. So he's already more than 2 seconds quicker. Max Gagan has gone quicker than all of them in the Method Motorsport McLaren Artura, the 1 minute 15.7. So into the 15s, already 1.1 seconds quicker than Ryland Gray's benchmark. So we were talking about track evolution, Tom, that it's just going to continue on for the remaining 6.5 minutes of this session.
Correct, and someone to keep another eye on is Jake Camilleri, and now he's not sharing his Ford Mustang with anyone else, so he was part of qualifying 1. He'll know the track just as good as those who only took part, including this car, the number 1 of Shane Smollen. And Jake Camilleri has so far set the fastest first sector on this lap. He's on a personal best to the second sector, so we'll see what time he can do. Currently sitting in 8th and 4th in silver class, 8th outright, as Gagan at the moment sits on top with a 1:15.7. So that's about 1.1 seconds faster than what was achieved in the first qualifying session, as Gagan now goes quicker in the first sector. So the timing screen is just lighting up as much as it was in the first qualifying session, but some of the guys like Shane Smollen, he's found over 3 seconds since first qualifying session. Whether or not he might have been on a wet tyre, definitely be on a slick now, but we're only about 1.5 seconds away from a fully dry time.
Great job from Chris Lillis, who's gone second in the 777 Porsche. Just in this group, he's getting up the inside of the AR19 Motorsport car, and he's on a very good lap. But traffic there into the final complex at 10 and 11. So that might cost the West Australian a little bit of lap time. So we're watching car 777, and does not improve his time marginally, and that was the difference between him potentially finding those 0.2 seconds he needed to go to the top. But good to see the Porsche competitive this weekend. He's chasing down Max Gagan in the Method Motorsport McLaren, the reigning GR Cup champion in one-make Toyota racing in Australia. Another bright young talent and another famous surname as well, with incredible Australasian motorsport heritage. Smollen goes to 3rd.
As George Mediki goes to the top on a 15.0, 7/10 seconds quicker than Gagan, who Gagan now sets the fastest first sector, and that McLaren, I think, suits that first sector. A bit smaller, nimble, more nimble car, and he's got about 0.2 seconds in that first sector on Mediki, but Mediki a little bit stronger down the back straight. There's plenty of curb taken there at turn 4. There was concrete added to the inside of turn 4 and turn 9 for the supercar round last year, because there was a lot of the track just getting dug out there with cars taking that curb. And Mediki, yes, I was in there as well, definitely. Count me for one of those drivers. Mediki and Gagan with a 14.7, so we are now in the 14s, Kralsey.
Yeah, great lap, but Chris Lillis running with him. 14.9 for the Porsche, plays a 14.7. So this is a really good tactic for the Legrand Porsche. Follow the guy that's leading the Silver Class Championship. So Lillis on to grab a pole position in the AM class and second outright in the Porsche. Follow young Maxi Gagan around. Good strategy. Mediki, purple first sector, fastest of anybody. Personal best middle sector. Traffic in the final sector, 15.0. 0.3 seconds away from Gagan's time, remains on the second row of the grid. Shane Smollen was 4th, now 5th, because Jake Camilleri on his debut in a Ford Mustang has jumped up to 4th with a 1 minute 15.5. And here are these two again. I love this strategy from Lillis. This is only their 4th round in Monochrome GT4 Australia. He and his mate Nathan Callahan have come out of production car racing where they've been running a Chevy Camaro. So this is a big step for them, a very different style of racing car. Why not follow the fastest guy in the paddock around in qualifying? It's paying off for them at the moment.
Exactly, and this is our current championship leaders, the 25, Gagan and Heyman. Now, they were 7th in the first qualifying session. As it stands, they're on provisional pole for qualifying 2 with Mediki in 3rd, and that's the battle, isn't it, for the championship between these two. Only 6 points separates Mediki, Gray and Gagan and Heyman for outright spoils in silver class. And it's pretty impressive that we have an AM car is 2nd outright, 1st in class, obviously. And silver AM leader Ryan Hansford down in position number 6 as Jacob Lawrence just goes to 4th. And Mediki now back to the top on a 14.4.
That is a very, very good lap time from George Mediki. So he goes to the top, Camilleri to 3rd. Mustangs charging their way to the front at the moment. So this is big from Mediki off the road, one of the Randall Racing BMWs. Ford, McLaren, Ford, Porsche, BMW in the top 5. The second of the 2 method McLarens is 10th at the moment with Lockie Hennock in 10th position. Tim Lay's just jumped up to 6th position. The Mayor of Orange going along nicely after a strong performance from Cody Bircher in the session. Lillis, purple to the middle sector. He's absolutely flying. So there's plenty more to come in this one. George Mediki's going on with it, and getting right out of it is Max Gagan at walking pace, just finding some track position before the final complex to build up for another lap. And he got a lot of traffic that lap, I think, so he gave away a bit of time in the 1st and 2nd sector, but just playing himself into it.
This is going to be his last lap. We've got less than a minute remaining, so just trying to find some clear air.
Watch for Camilleri. Mediki on a really good lap. He's improved in the 1st and 2nd sectors and improves again at a 14.3, but Camilleri is on course to get very near to matching the provisional pole sitter at the moment in the Mobile Mustang, but he doesn't complete the final sector. He gave away 2 seconds.
Must be traffic.
The final kilometre of the lap.
He'll get one more lap though, Crailsey, with 25 seconds on the clock. And this lap for Gagan, this is his last attempt. 1st sector, not a personal best, 3/10 away from what Mediki achieved. So we've got Camilleri on his last lap now, as I think Gagan's pulled it to the side and
I think they might
made the right flag.
Yeah, I think they might be done. He's certainly not going to get back around in time. Or will he? Won't get back around in time, but he's still pressing on in this lap and personal best middle sector. But I don't think it'll be enough. He gave away 0.3 of a second in the 1st sector to George Mediki's session best. So this will need to be a pretty mighty final split for the young Queenslander to beat the Ford Mustang. Will it be Ford or will it be McLaren? An age-old sports car racing battle. It'll be McLaren. Final sector, Max Gagan. Wow. We had him done. He said no thank you. Knocks everyone off in the final split and grabs pole position by a 1/10 of a second. The only guy that could beat him is Shane Smolin. Brilliant middle sector for the Porsche, but gives away time in the final and doesn't get there. That is a massive lap at the end of qualifying. We thought he was done in the 1st split. There was nothing. But he pulled it out of the fire. Personal best middle sector. The final 1/3 of the lap was unbelievable. And the Method Motorsport McLaren is going to grab its 4th silver class pole position of the Monochrome GT4 Australia season. What a lap from a young star of Aussie motorsport. That was great. Rylan Gray and George Mediki 1st and 2nd today, so not a bad qualifying performance. Our championship leaders, by the way, in the silver class 1 and 2. AM class pole, 4th outright to Chris Lillis. That was huge.
Cracking job from Lillis.
Huge lap from them, following Max for most of that session. Silver AM pole to Ryan Hansford in 10th position in the rebuilt multi-spares car. Jason Gomersall 2nd in that class. That was a cool half an hour of qualifying for Monochrome GT4. They've got 1 hour of racing to come your way a little bit later on this afternoon as part of our coverage of the Shannons Speed Series.
That was Hennock going around early in the session. So one McLaren having a fantastic run with that lap right at the end, and that was that spin from Hennock. A massive power slide there for the number 9 Supra of Tim Berryman. And that lap right at the end for Gagan. We thought he was done. I thought he was done, but he proved us wrong there. And this was our second place sitter, George Madiki. This is going to be a cracking battle this weekend between those two, isn't it?
Well, 6 points between them in the Silver Class Championship. First and second on the grid. It's the stuff that promoters dream of. 1 and 2. 1 and 2 on the grid. Great stuff in Monochrome GT4 Australia. It's all set up for a big fight this afternoon in race 1. Good stuff in qualifying. Let's go down to Rusty.
And the cars just arrived back. Chas Mostert at the back of the Method Motorsport McLaren. You can see our photographers have gathered here already. Tom Heyman in to congratulate Max Gagan. What an electric end to the session. We'll try and find a little moment to dive in here. He's still plugged in, so we'll give him a second here. The crew go to work. Big congratulations. Hey, well done. Well done getting the thumbs up from the crew. That was really well done. What a session though, hey?
Yeah, I know. It's you just had to pick your time. Then it was so hard. Like obviously everyone's doing different things. Some cars went on green, some cars on roaded tyres like we did. So you just had to pick your time. Like the roaded tyres were a lot quicker at the start. You could see everyone rolling around on the slicks at the start trying to get up the temp. So no, the car was good. Almost put it in the fence on that lap. No, I'm joking. That was pretty good. The car was good.
All right, we'll let him take his helmet off here. We're going to grab a commercial break here on 7+. 2 great qualifying sessions in Monochrome Australia GT4. You know what? We're going to go racing right after this with the Aussie racing cars, the Pocket Rockets, live here at Sandown.